Today we're going to look at the most mana expensive card draw out there. I'm gonna be surprised how many of these cards are not blue. But we're gonna start off with Enter the Infinite, which is an insane, what is it, 12 mana? Does anyone actually cast this for 12 mana? I guess some people who have, like, I don't know, Nykthos Shrine to Nyx or something. It's a sorcery. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in your library. You better have a plan for those cards. Then put a card from your hand on top of your library. You've got no maximum hand size until your next turn. Oh, only until your next turn. Well, you better have a, what's it called? You need the Reliquary Tower in all those cards. Ha! Got around that until end of turn clause. I mean, yeah, if you can somehow cast this card, it's absolutely amazing. Casting it is the problem. That's the tricky part. That's always the hard part about who casts this thing for 12 mana. I'm sure there's somebody out there, but usually you're just trying to cheat this thing into existence. Anyway, all right, moving on. We got our first super chat of the day from King Ginger, the Consecrated Sphinx. I was listening to some podcasts. Maybe it was from the Command Zone. They were like, you know, the power level of cards have changed so much over time. Consecrated Sphinx could have been banned back in the day, but they didn't. You know what? They held out. And you know what? Consecrated Sphinx, it's fine. All right, it's fine. You have a Consecrated Sphinx, you're going to end up being the threat at the table. Everyone's going to gang up on you. The 6 mana 4/6 Sphinx flying. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. By all means, have another one. I would have another, because every single time you draw a card, I get to draw 2. I still love playing this card. I don't care. So yeah, if you can get this in play, I mean, it's great value. It might as well just say draw 7 cards. By the time people deal with this or deal with you, you'll have a whole new hand. There's a whole new hand all over again. Sheelan with Treasure Cruise. Are we going for a cruise? This card is busted. Now, the reason this card is absolutely broken is because it's never 8 mana. It says it's 8 mana. They should have just added, like, I don't know, 3 more generic mana onto this just to make it even remotely fair. It's a sorcery with Delve, and you get to draw 3 cards. So it looks like 7 mana. Oh my god, that's impossible. How are we going to get 7 cards into our graveyard? Well, between like removal spells and artifacts, Mishra's Bauble, fetch lands, looting effects, cantrips, maybe your own stuff dies, self-milling. No, there's a lot of ways of doing it. There's no way this card is not banned in every format. How it is legal in Pioneer, I don't know. You know, there are some things we don't know about. How did they make the pyramids? How did Treasure Cruise not get banned in Pioneer? And it's banned almost everywhere else. Completely illegal in Commander. Yeah, we might as well. Yeah, the Ancestral Cruise. Very ancestral, very cruisy. Anyway, enjoy it while you can, Pioneer players. Enjoy it while it lasts. Makes me wonder, like, why can't we have actual ancestral recall in Commander if this literally does nothing? I mean, it's not nothing, but I mean, it's not supremely broken. 1 mana, draw 3. It's okay in Commander. It's like absolutely okay. Guess they got to keep blue in check. Blue can't have too many goodies. Okay, next up, let's take a look at we got Kano's Last March of the Ents. Oh, is this is the Lord of the Rings card? Is an 8 mana sorcery. Now it can't be countered. That's right. You try it. I mean, by all means, you can target the spell. It's just not going to do anything. Draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. Then put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. That's broken. That's absolutely broken. So we got like part Enter the Infinite, part Eureka. Well, maybe not Eureka. It's like a super show and tell. Oh my god, that's insane. Oh yeah, this thing's like between $12 and $40, and with good reason. That's completely nuts. Not to mention, if you have 8 mana, you probably at this point you got something big on the battlefield. If the game is close, it's not going to be close anymore because the last March of the Ents are coming for you. The tree folk, they know how to close a game. Next super chat from King Ginger. We got the Great Aurora. Isn't this that jank card? It is the jank card. The 9 mana sorcery. Each player shuffles all cards from so shuffles all cards from their hand and all permanents they own into their library, then draws that many cards. Each player may put any number of land cards from their hand onto the battlefield. Exile the Great Aurora. This card, not worth it! Because the problem is, okay, you're going to draw a lot of cards, but everyone draws cards. There's no guarantee that you're actually going to do better than your opponents when you put things onto the battlefield. Show and tell is a trap, right? If you personally are the only one putting things on the battlefield, that's great. If everyone's putting things on the battlefield, I don't know about that. I'd be careful. I'd be careful about giving other people free spells onto the battlefield. I don't think Omniscience draws cards. It's a problem, Sean. It's like it technically does not draw cards, right? Next up, let's take a look at Benjamin with Villas, Broker of Blood. This is the 8 mana 8/8 demon, flying, pay a black, pay 2 life. Target creature gets -1 until end of turn, and whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. Absolutely insane. You know, probably everything that is like really expensive is probably incredibly busted. So not only are we shrinking creatures to their death, you also actually get paid for it. You get paid for being an assassin here, or death by 1,000 cuts. Okay, next up, we got our next super chat from the Phoenix Down. Thank you so much for your super chat. Probably not what you're looking for, but it's someone is drawing forced fruition. Yes, somebody. I mean, it could be somebody else. 6 mana enchantment. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, that player draws 7 cards. I have no doubt that under the right circumstances, you can go get your opponents big time. And then maybe if they draw any cards, they're going to end up drawing the rest of their deck. But for the most part, I believe this card is a stinker. This is just a jank card, basically. It also can backfire on you. Opponent plays a spell, draws 7 cards, finds an answer to Forced Fruition, destroys it, also draws 7 cards while Forced Fruition is on its way out. So it's a sort of it's double-edged. And by double-edged, I think it's the edge is more on them than you. I mean, you don't even get to draw cards off of this. Okay, next up, let's take a look at Fran with the Kozilek. Kozilek, the Great Distortion. This card is so great, it's worth a super chat sound effect. For 10 mana, which is like nothing for the colorless decks, it might as well say 4. If you have like, you know, some Cloud Posts out, the Tron lands, Soul lands, it basically costs nothing. It's a 12/12 Eldrazi. But if you cast it, if you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, you draw cards equal to the difference. It also has Menace. And also you can discard a card with mana value X to counter target spell with mana value X. This card does everything. And like, hold on, is it when you cast the spell if you have fewer cards? Yeah, and because it's your commander, or it can be your commander, I'm not trying to give you any ideas here, but if you choose for this to be your commander, if it somehow dies, you recast it, and boom, you get to draw another 7 cards all over again. I also think this card is just completely broken. Not even that hard to cast, by all means. Okay, next up. Let's take a look at Lord Trevor. What's up? The OG of card draw, the Yawgmoth's Bargain. It's funny this call it's a bargain. I wonder if Yawgmoth would consider this a sale. Everything must go. All cards in all library. The 6 mana enchantment. Skip your draw step. Pay 1 life. Also draw a card. I mean, all these cards. They probably didn't make this cost enough. I don't know. Like, what is this effect worth by today's standards? 12 mana? 14 mana? To be able to just pay 1 life and then draw a card off of it. You know, you can just draw, 38 cards in one shot. If you have a lot of life gain in your deck, let's say you get to 100 life, you could draw your entire deck. I don't think they made this expensive enough. Hence why it is like supremely banned. Oh no, it's actually okay. It is banned everywhere, but it's actually completely legal in Vintage. I believe it was restricted at one time, but then they're like, you know what? This is Vintage. You can like draw your entire deck one way or another in like multitudes of different ways. So like whatever, you can have 4 of Yawgmoth's Bargain in your deck. We don't have to limit to 1 like we would in Commander. But also in Commander, you're not even limited to 1. You're limited to nothing because it's banned in that format. It's interesting, the difference between Yawgmoth's Bargain and Necropotence. Necropotence, you're not allowed to have the cards until end of turn, and that somehow makes it fair. Doesn't seem very fair to me. I think they're all busted. Okay, anyway, yeah, this is definitely worth it. Unbelievably worth it. Okay, Toilet Duck, Liliana, Dark Horde General. Sorry, hold on, Dread Horde General. She Dreading. 6 mana, 6 loyalty Liliana. Whenever a creature you control dies, you get to draw a card. That's pretty sweet. -4, each player sacrifices 2 creatures. Oh, and also, sorry, +1, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. -9, each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest. I actually think this is a banger card. It's not too difficult to get out, and the -4 can sometimes act like a board wipe. Like, especially if people are light on creatures. I mean, you just basically clear the board, and then, and if any of your stuff died, well, you get to cash in on it. Julian with Time Spiral. Oh yeah, this is a great card. 6 mana sorcery. Remove Time Spiral from the game. Each player shuffles their graveyard, hand, and library, and then draws 7 cards. You untap up to 6 lands. That's what we need. We need Time Twister that's free, that cost absolutely nothing. What were they thinking? I don't think they were thinking when they made this card. Also ended up becoming an all-star. But you know what? By today's standards, it's like a little janky. It's not too bad. Still have to get to the 6 mana. But by all means, I think it's a great one. Dangerous one. The Blood for the Blood God, literally. Blood for the Blood God. It's a... This is a lot. This is 11 mana. Instant. Spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature that died this turn. So it's like a blasphemous act. Discard your hand, then draw 8 cards. Blood for the Blood God deals 8 damage to each opponent. Exile Blood for the Blood God. The fact that you could play this for absolutely nothing, insane value. I mean, beautiful. I mean, the likelihood that you can play this for 3, insanely high. Especially if you play in a group full of board wipes. All right, next up, Bulky with the Dragon Appeasement. I'm actually surprised how many of these are so strong. 6 mana enchantment, skip your draw step. Whenever you sacrifice a creature, draw a card. We had this on the show the other day. I don't like this card. You can like be locked out of the game. So the risk is, I think it's high risk, low reward. Because if you, if let's say all your creatures are dead. Someone wiped the board a few turns ago with the Liliana Dreadhorde General. Then, like, that's it. You're not going to draw any more cards for the rest of the game. And if you can't play any more creatures, that's it. It's over. You're not going to be drawing squad anymore. So actually, I don't like this card. Not worth it. Not worth it at all. The Phoenix Down. The Aladdin's Lamp. I have a feeling this is not good. The Lamp. Any moths in the house? The 10 mana artifact. Pay X, tap. Instead of drawing a card from the top of your library, draw X cards, but choose only 1 to put into your hand. Shuffle the leftover cards and put them at the bottom of your library. X cannot be 0. Way too expensive. I'm just staring at this thing in my hand, and I'm like, no, you know what? I don't feel like ramping to 10 mana and playing this thing. I mean, if it's the only thing I can play, I will, but it's not that great. You need a sack outlet to respond at wipes at any time. Oh, for this card? I mean, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you would need a sack outlet too, actually. Whenever you sacrifice. Yeah, so actually, there's actually extra problems with Dragon Appeasement. It's not like whenever something dies, you actually have to sacrifice the creature. So too much work and too much risk. Pedgeman, no idea what's been done before. So we'll go with the Doomsday Excruciator. Thanks so much, Pedgeman. This is black, 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 6/6 demon. Flying. When Doomsday Excruciator enters, if it was cast, each player exiles all but the bottom 6 cards of the library face down. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card. This could be a problem. Each player exiles all cards with the bottom 6. So, like, this could win you the game. Also could end up losing you the game. I mean, I guess what is your plan? Is this like a crappier version of like a Thassa's Oracle kill? Imagine you work this hard just to get a 6/6 demon and then try to win through Thassa's Oracle. Because if you draw a few cards and then, well, you're just fewer cards down than everybody else, you can end up being the person who dies around here. All right. So I would actually say not. I would lean to say card is not worth it in the grand scheme of things. Draw the game with prosperity. Prosperity says something to do with the card. Each player draws X cards. Oh, I see. What was the point? Like you're just trying to draw. Like they say, you know what? Even if that is your combo, I would still say that's not worth it. Like best case scenario, you draw the game. Worst case scenario, everybody you lose. You lose or everyone draws. Roll pain. Does the Dragon count? I don't think the Dragon draws cards. If you're talking about it's not a card advantage show. It's card draw. I can't remember what the Dragon. I think that's is that the one that puts the dragons in play? The Dragon. Oh no, this does draw cards. No, yeah, this is totally fine. Okay, Wooburg for generic for a 10/10 dragon avatar. It's got eminence as long as the Dragon is in the command zone or is on the battlefield. Other dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. I love value. And then flying. Whenever one or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards. And then you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. I don't know how you're going to cast this thing, but when you do get it out, even if you don't get it out, you know, you're going to make it's basically a it's like a dragon medallion while it's in the command zone. I think this is definitely worth it. We got super chats. We got J Boogie. Has anyone said Approach of the Second Sun? I don't think this actually draws cards. Right? This it's not a card draw card. 7 mana. If it was cast from your hand, you cast another spell approach and you win the game. Otherwise, put it into its owner's library for 7 from the top and you gain 7 life. Sorry about that, J Boogie. It's disqualified. Literally does not draw a single card. So we're gonna donate that one, J Boogie. We're gonna donate it to Arcanus the Omnipotent. Honestly, I'm not the hugest fan of this card. It's a bit clunky. It's a 6 mana 3/4. Now you can tap it to draw 3 cards, but you also need it to survive by next turn. And what's the likelihood that your blue deck gives your creatures haste? Now you do get the insurance policy of paying 4 mana, return Arcanus the Omnipotent to its owner's hand. So I would say in like real jank play groups, card is fine, but like you have to hope that it survives till next turn, and it does have some really good combo potential with what's called Mind Over Manner. So I'm like a little 50-50 on this one. The free range academic Pursuit of Knowledge. Knowledge. We got the 4-mana enchantment. Skip drawing a card. Put a study counter on Pursuit of Knowledge. Remove 3 study counters from Pursuit of Knowledge. Sacrifice Pursuit of Knowledge. Draw 7 cards. That's excellent. I like that value. Is it like if you draw a card, you put a study counter on this thing? Okay. There is a problem. There's a little bit of a problem. If you were to draw 2 cards, or if someone like stifles this, if someone blows this up with 2 counters, you actually lost cards. So that's not good. So probably this card is not great. Oh, it's not even 6 CMC. It's disqualified. You're right, Dr. Nemo. Thank you so much, Dr. Nemo. We got Kano. Yeah, it's disqualified. It's gotta be 6. It's big mana value. It's big mana value show. We want big. Must be big. Go big or go home. Bell with the Null Drifter. Card is actually just completely insane. I think this... It's a 7 mana 4/4. When you cast this spell, you get to draw 2 cards. That has Flying. It has Annihilator 1. And it's got Evoke for 3 mana. So very easily between Dress Down, Stifle, Consign to Memory. If you phase this out when it enters the battlefield, they all work. You basically paid 3 mana to draw 2 cards, and you have a 4/4 flyer that annihilates your opponents. This is incredibly good value. Not to mention, like for the colorless decks, you have an abundance of mana anyway. You can just easily cast this. 7 mana for a colorless deck, like it might as well be 3 mana. 3 lands. Tron, Urza's Tower, Urza's Power Plant, Urza's Mine equals 1 + 1 + 1 = 7. That's just how it works in Tron world. Lord Trevor, bring it on with the Bringer of the Blue Dawn. The Bringers. Shout out to Platonic Liquid. We got a 9 mana 5/5 Bringer. But you can pay Wooburg instead rather than pay the mana cost. It's got Trample. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you can draw 2 cards. This is like Arcanus the Omnipotent that can attack. And also, it's like cheaper than Arcanus because you have the alternate cost of paying 5 mana for it, like paying Wooburg. It's got Trample and everything. Okay, that's not in a Wooburg deck. This looks good. It's got to be in a Wooburg deck. It has to be in a Wooburg deck. Color identity, people. Color identity. Gotta stay in that identity. It's probably the best bringer of them all. Next up, we've got Christopher B. with Seshiro the Anointed. This card for 6 mana is a 3/4 Snake Monk. Other snakes get +2/+2. And also, whenever a snake you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So it's basically... So it's better as a lord than a card draw spell. This reminds me of, like, Seafloor Oracle. Reminds me of... It's sort of a bad version of... what is that squirrel called? It's a 4 mana 1/1 indestructible squirrel that has to attack every turn. But every single creature draws a card for you. It's basically what this thing is. Anyway, because it's like a supreme lord, I like this card. The Lord of the Snakes on that mother effing plane. Okay, Elixir, is it worth it? Magma Opus. Oh, I've done that super chat too many times. Okay, Magma Opus. 6 mana. Oh, sorry, 8 mana. For an instant, deals 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. Tap 2 target permanents, create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token, and you get to draw 2 cards. But you can also play Is It, discard Magma's Opus to create a treasure token. At least you have like that backup plan. So you get 4 damage, a 4/4, and you tap 2 things and you draw 2 cards. This is like a gigantic command. Honestly, not really impressed by it. It's like decent value, I guess. And it also has that backup plan by creating a treasure. I'm not feeling it, to be honest. I could be underestimating it. It does a lot. It does a lot of little things. Like at 8 mana, 4 damage, make a 4/4, tap 2 things. By this point of the game, though, I think you have really big problems you have to deal with that Magma's Opus cannot answer. Okay, next up, we've got Lewis wants Jin Gitaxias. Which one? Oh, the Core Augur. 10 mana for a 5/4 with Flash. You won't see it coming. I have 10 mana up. It could be anything. Could be Cyclonic Rift. Could be a giant counterspell. Or it could be Jin Gitaxias. At the beginning of your end step, draw 7 cards. Also, each opponent's maximum hand size was reduced by 7. You're sticking with 1... Oh, yeah, but, like, they are going to have 1 good turn to try to kill this thing. Or I guess except for the player to your right. You're going to, like, wipe out their hand. But it's, like, okay. It's, like, a little overpriced. It's, like, it's really strong. Let's just say this is, like, the more expensive version of a Sphinx's Revelation. But I do like it if you can get it in play. Next super chat we got from... Let's get one from Maddie. The Grizzlebrand. Oh, does the Grizzlebrand need any introduction? It's basically the necropotence of creatures. You pay... the Yawgmoth's bargain of creatures. You pay life, you draw the cards immediately. It costs 8 mana. I don't know anyone who casts this card, though. I've played against this card a billion times in a deck that barely has any swamps. That's just how it is with the Grizzlebrand. In fact, I've played against this card in decks that have no swamps in it at all. One of the best cards. Arguably the best one we're going to see here today. M. Rodriguez with the time stretch. Does this draw cards? Well, you suggested it. It's 10 mana. Target player takes 2 extra turns after this one. Sorry, disqualified. Does not actually draw cards. Take an extra turn card. Ikaya with the Agent of Treachery. I don't know if this one draws cards either. Agent of Treachery. And you're sweating. You're sweating because you know it doesn't draw cards? Or because it does. 7 mana for a 2/3 human rogue. Enter the battlefield, gain control of target permanent. Oh yeah, at the beginning of your end step, if you control 3 or more perms you don't own, you draw 3 cards. Terrible! This is a terrible card. I know it had its time in the sun in standard. Got banned. Oh, it's still banned. It's banned in Historic and Brawl. Why? Why is it banned in Brawl? Is it actually really good in Brawl? Blows my mind. I think a lot of people like this in Commander for some reason. I guess the selling point is that when it enters the battlefield, you steal permanents permanently. Like there's no clause of like when it leaves the battlefield to give it back. I don't like this card though. Like we have Agent of Treachery stands out here trying to defend the glory of the Agent of Treachery. I don't like it. It's definitely bad at card draw. It's terrible. Agent is good with clones, I guess, or blinking it in general. Yeah, I guess you have to blink this thing and slowly get it going. Ugh, I don't even want to imagine how that's supposed to work. Like, what, I'm supposed to have like 10 mana up, cast my Agent, protect it with counter magic, and also blink it at the same time. It's easy to blink. This thing's 7 mana. You have to blink. Oh, on top of that, you have to blink it. You have to like blink it, but also have blink in response to people's removal spells. I think it's insane. Okay, J Boogie. It's gonna redeem themselves. Time for redemption. This is the redemption arc. So I didn't read the rules for the last submission. Toxrill. The Corrosive. Does this card draw cards? Oh yeah, something to do with sacking the slugs. Okay, 7 mana for a 7/7 slug horror. At the beginning of each end step, put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. Whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, create a 1/1 black slug creature token. And for 2 mana, you can sack your slug to draw your cards. It's a pretty crappy card draw card, but it is actually quite a great way to shrink your opponent's board slowly to death. So I don't mind the Toxrill. I have no idea where the hell you put this card. Maybe it's just a generic good value engine, period. The more rotations we got, the smaller the creatures get. So yeah, this card is A-okay by me. Pretty crappy card draw card, though, to be honest. Okay, you heard the music. We're gonna look at more super expensive mana cards that draw you cards, but you know where to buy them? You're gonna get them at FusionGamingOnline.com, today's sponsor. The same as yesterday's sponsor and tomorrow's sponsor. Also, it's my favorite sponsor. Duskmourn House of Horror. I don't know if they got expensive value card draw in that set, but if they do, you might want to pre-order them from Fusion Gaming. And also, the deal of the week, save 15% off Cards of Tarkir block singles. Between the fetch lines, dragons, and anti-dragon cards, they've got the stock in store for you. And if you want to support the channel, you can support yourself first by using coupon code Nikachu at checkout to get 5% off. And it supports me because it supports the channel whenever you use that coupon code. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online. You want to use some big janky cards in your deck, but you don't know if they're good enough? Well, when you're renting cards online for Magic Online, you can test whatever the hell you want. And then if it's worth it, you buy it in paper. If it's not, you send the cards back and you rent new ones. You can support the show by renting using my Mana Traders link in the description below. Or save 10% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu_QTP. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, time for still back to the supremely expensive cards. Okay, we got one from John. The Regal Force, used in some fringe CEDH decks. Oh, it is it? Thanks for the super chat, John. 7 mana, 5/5, enters the battlefield. Draw a card for each green creature you control. It's just like, it feels like Stroke of Genius for green. That's just how I'm interpreting it. With some clause that you have to have green creatures in play. You don't got green creatures, you get nothing. So actually, I don't really like this card. This is used in CEDH? CEDH staple? Honestly, not in love with this thing. I really don't like how it's dependent on having green creatures in play. Maybe in practice it's better than I think it is. Because, like, well, what are the odds that your board is wiped or empty? But, I mean, if you get late in the game and people play a board wipe and you're like, oh, I got my Regal Force, draw one card, I guess. It's good in green decks like Elves. See, that's the problem I have here. Like, I don't know if it's good in green decks like Elves. If you're playing an Elf deck, like, why can't this just be like the win condition? Like Natural Order, or what's it called? Craterhoof Behemoth. Like, if you got this much mana, you got a lot of creatures, like, why not just try to win the game? Isn't it time to win the game? So, like, for me, this sounds just so, I don't know, win more. But maybe they need more cards. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't think it's worth it. Nikachu has spoken. Okay, we got Jasperab with Earthshaker Dreadmaw. Earthshaker Dreadmaw. 6 mana for a 6/6. Trample, ETB. Draw a card for each other dinosaur you control. So this is like Regal Force, but for a dinosaur deck. Each other dinosaur you control? No, it's like, it's sort of in the similar vein. Like, at least this thing is a 6/6 with trample, and it's cheaper. It's more reasonable. This one's closer, and because you know it's going to have synergy within a dinosaur deck, so maybe it's better than I think it is. You can only have one Craterhoof, unfortunately. Well, you can only have one Regal Force as well. Arcanus Ultra, thanks so much for the super chat. We've got Sway of the Stars, amazing. Just float mana first. Oh, is it as easy as that? This card's banned. So that has one bad thing going for it. Outside of that, it is a 10 mana sorcery. Each player shuffles their hand, graveyard, and permanents they own into their library, then draw 7 cards, and each player's life total becomes 7. I would also still say that this is not really a good card, because you can never tell that this is going to help you more than your opponent. This is like one of those cards, like, okay, like, maybe it's going to help you. Also, just maybe it just helps somebody else. Like if you play cards like Time Twister, you got to make sure that your opponent gets punished for drawing so many cards. EKJJ, the bad deal. Where's the good deal? Bad deal, 6 mana, sorcery. You draw 2 cards, and each opponent discards 2 cards. Each player also loses 2 life. I sort of like what it does. I just don't know if it's worth it for 6 mana. So it's like, in a 4-player game, I think you're just paying for it. Like, if there's 3 people in play, let's say there's like 3, it's like a Sign in Blood and 2 Hymn to Tarox, and then you get just enough value if there's 4 people in play. In the end, though, I just, for 6 mana, I didn't want to play this card. We got Lego Drakey, Overflowing Insights. 7 mana sorcery. Target player draws 7 cards. It's basic. It's sort of like Stroke of Genius, right? Sorcery speed. Sorcery speed for 7 mana. Nah, I can't like this card for that much mana. Not worth it. It is interesting though. If you can play it at instant speed, it probably would be worth it though. Elixir! Imagine you play mono white. You're dying and desperate for card draw, and then you cast Resupply. Resupply, the 6 mana instant. You gain 6 life and draw a card. Holy crap, this is awful. 6 mana just to draw a single card. So basically we paid, what did we even do? That's fine. Okay, so I think for 2 mana, we paid for 2 healing salves, and then 4 mana got us a card draw. Card draw back then. That's what card draw in white is worth, you know? That's card draw in white right over there. Fabricio said, since you asked for Duskmorn card draw, Marina Vendrell. Grimoire, all right. 5 mana. Oh, Grimoire? There's 2 of them with the same name, but one of them's longer. 6 mana legendary artifact. When it enters, if you cast it, draw 5 cards. That's insane! You have no maximum hand size and don't lose the game for having 0 less life. Where can this go wrong? When you gain life, draw that many cards. Whenever you lose life, discard that many cards. Then if you have no cards in hand, you lose the game. Oh, God. Oh, God, please, no! I have no idea if this is good or bad. This could be this could be really, really good, or this could be just god-awful. You don't lose the game for it. We need to play this, then enter the infinite, and then we're in the money. Because our hand is basically our life total, as far as I can see it. I'm gonna assume it. I'm honestly gonna assume it's bad, but like I could be dead wrong here. I could be. This card could be nuts. It could be like a diamond in the rough. It's new. I've never heard of it. LaFage. I used to play Draco in casual games back then. Does Draco draw cards? At the beginning of your upkeep, sack it. No, unfortunately, it does not draw cards. It is a very mana expensive card though, but it needs to draw cards for this show. We got Kalensis with Mordenkainen. There's some old guy on the art, right? Mordenkainen. Okay, maybe not that old. Was bald. Sorry about that, Mordenkainen. Sorry for confusing the two. This is a 6 mana 5 loyalty planeswalker. +2, draw 2 cards. Then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. So super sleight of hand. -2. Create a blue dog illusion. We got dog. This creature's power and toughness are each equal to twice the number of cards in your hand. -10. Exchange your hand and library. Whoa! Then shuffle. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. How hard is that? That's 4 turns. +2, +2, +2, then -10. I think this card is great. I like the card draw. I like that you can defend the Planeswalker with this -2. I actually like all the abilities on this card. Definitely worth it for 6 mana. We did Aladdin's Lamp. People love your Aladdin's Lamp, don't you? Okay, next super chat. We got from the Phoenix Down. You like this show, don't you, Phoenix Down? Every thingamajig. This looks fun. This is a silver border card. I'm only looking at one of these. If you super chat, I will look at a silver border card. If you don't, I'll buzz the damn thing. 5 mana artifact. Pay 1. Flip a coin. And then if you win the flip, add double colorless to your mana pool. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast an instant. So we're just gambling to get more mana, but in reality, we could actually get less. This is a damn casino. Pay 3, tap. Target player discards a card. Activate this ability only during your turn. And also, every thingamajig becomes an XX construct artifact creature until end of turn. We're going to a casino where our expected value is to just break even. Ben, the magic mirror. Not the magic school bus? Okay, this is a 9 mana legendary artifact. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. Oh, that's music to my ears. And you have no maximum hand size. And at the beginning of your upkeep, put a knowledge counter on the magic mirror. Then draw a card for each knowledge counter on the magic mirror. So I think this is great. Yeah, I think this is fantastic. I think playing this thing for 3 mana is amazing. It's like a Howling Mine. It's a one-sided Howling Mine that just grows exponentially. So I love this card. So it's really a 3 mana card, if anything. Okay, next we got Bell, the Pride of Whole Clade. What, that Simic card? It's good in a defender deck. I was thinking of something else. Okay, so this is an 11 mana, 2/15 crocodile elk turtle. But it costs X less to cast, where X is the total toughness of creatures you control. It does have defender. Okay, 4 mana until end of turn. Target creature you control gains +1/+0. Gains. Did it gain something twice? No, hold on. Target until end of turn. Target creature you control. No, it gets +1/+0. Gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player. Draw cards equal to its toughness, and can attack as though it didn't have defender. I think this is awful. X, where X is the total toughness. So you can play it for cheap, but as a card draw mechanic, it's just brutal. Also, I think it's too much work to get online. So you can play it for like 1 mana. You got to pay 4 mana just to activate this ability. Not in love with it. Who's got no card yet? We've got Erope with the Null Profusion. The 6 mana enchantment. Skip your draw step. Whenever you play a card, you get to draw a card. Your maximum hand size is 2. Oh god. That's... I don't know about that one. Can we override that with a Reliquary Tower? So, like, can that be time-stamped? We play the Null Profusion. Skip your draw step. We play cards. That does count your lands, though, right? I think we've had this card on the show before. It counts the lands. You play a land, you draw a card. Your maximum hand size is 2. So if you're low on lands, you have 2 expensive cards, you're screwed, right? Okay, I think the risk is too high. Not worth it. I think... So, like, the thing is, it looks like this card would be very good in a deck where the cards in your deck are cheap. I mean, maybe you can build around it. Like, you have, like, what's it called? Just 4 drops or smaller. So if you can cast Null Profusion, you have to be able to cast everything else. So maybe it works. Maybe it works out. But I don't know. Whenever it says skip your draw step, it's danger! Okay? For you! It can end up backfiring badly, and you're just never going to cast anything forever. Okay, we got just a random age. Overwhelming intellect. Oops. Overwhelming intellect. It's got brains. 6 mana instant. Counter target creature spell. Draw cards equal to that spell's converted mana cost. I love it! That's great. This is your brain on drugs. Good drugs. Okay, next up, let's take a look at... Who else doesn't have no card yet? Hinari has no card. Thought Reflection. You sit in the corner and think of what you've done. And if when you do that for 7 mana, it's an enchantment. And if you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. You know, I honestly don't like it. Because, like, this late in the game, especially if you have 7 mana. I mean, I don't know how you get this out on turn 3 if you do. If you do, great. But if you don't, this card is more... Like, these Howling Mind effects are more valuable to you early on in the game than later on in the game. Like, right now, if you have 7 mana, I would rather play that 7 mana sorcery that just drew 7 cards directly into your hand. So I'm going to say not worth it. Beanpot needs a card. Thought Monitor. It's literally a 1 mana 2/2 flying creature that draws cards. It's absolutely worth it. Affinity for artifacts, so it's just basically a blue. It's essentially like a treasure cruise that flies. So, but instead of drawing 1 extra card, you have a 2/2 flyer. Hexanort. Nexus of Becoming. Nexus of Become. What are you going to become? 6 mana, artifact. At the beginning of combat on your turn, draw a card. Then you may exile an artifact or creature card from your hand. If you do, create a token that's a copy of the exiled card, except it's a 3/3 golem artifact creature in addition to its other types. I don't like it! Beginning of combat. So you do get to put like a creature in play with maybe like some great activated abilities. Beginning of combat, you do get to draw an extra card. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't like the idea of taking our cards in our hand and then transforming them, mutating them into like 3/3 creatures in the grand scheme of things. Nah, I'm gonna say like the 3/3 creatures are not gonna make up for it. Next up, we've got Dr. Nemo with the overwhelming forces. How overwhelming are they? 8 mana, sorcery, destroy all creatures. Target opponent could, only one opponent. Draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. That is awesome. Now it only blows up one side of the board, or sorry, like one quadrant of a board, but I like that you draw a bunch of cards off of it equally at the same time. And at 8 mana, you're definitely going to have a great payday at the same time. Who did I accidentally click on? I clicked on Chris Bonehead. Season of Gathering. It is a 6 mana sorcery. Choose up to 5 paw worth of modes. You may choose the same mode more than once. 1 paw. Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. It gains vigilance and trample until end of turn. 2 paw. Choose artifact or enchantment. Destroy all permanents of that type. Or 3 paw. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So, Cryptic Command, super draw cards. I like it. I think it's, I think between destroying artifacts and enchantments and drawing cards, I think it's worth it. I like that we have multiple modes on this thing. How many of you don't have cards? This is crazy. Evan with Camaraderie. 6 mana, sorcery. You gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of creatures you control. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So you got 6 creatures. You could draw 6 cards, gain 6 life, and then buff them up this turn. Might just be worth it enough. And the more creatures you have in play, the better this gets. And this is for, it can be like in a white deck that splashes a little bit of green. It could be a heavy green deck that splashes a little white. All right, you know what? I think I could get behind this. Also, it's like a semi-anthem. Daniel's like, NCY is for those who don't have cards. Yeah, NCY stands for no card yet, so that everyone gets at least 1 card on the show. Dinglebag with a chromatic orrery. And then when Webster, what is going on here? Chromatic orrery broke the show. Is that how it's orrery. Okay, good. Woo! Scryfall, don't fail on me. You almost gave me a heart attack. Okay, we have a 7 mana legendary artifact. You can spend mana as though it were men of any color. You can also add 5 mana. So basically, this thing only costs 2 mana. Pay 5 tap, draw a card for each color among permanents you control. I think this card's a banger card. It's like a super Gilded Lotus of some sort. PM, the flow of ideas. Okay, this is a 6 mana sorcery. Draw a card for each island you control. Honestly, I think this card should be crap, because like if you're playing with a lot of islands in your deck, then that means you don't have like a whole lot of you just don't have many non-basic lands unless you have like a Harbinger of the Seas out. So I would assume that this card should not be worth it. You should be playing with non-basic lands. All right, you should be playing with the Maze of Ith. You should be playing with a lot of cool other stuff. I think we did the Great Aurora, Daniel. We did that one. Okay, who else do we not get? David Howler, Indris, the Hydrostatic Surge. I don't see that here. Oh, I didn't spell it. Indris, the Hydrostatic Surge. This is a 6 mana 5/5. Oh, it's an arena card. ETB, conjure a card named Lightning Bolt into your library. It perpetually gains Storm. Oh my goodness. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. Huh. So everything that you play, I think this card is worth it. Yeah. All your instants and sorceries draw cards, and you randomly you have 1 lightning bolt in your deck that has Storm. All you have to do is tutor the damn thing on top of your library. It's over. We did enter the infinite. Super chat coming from Kagan. Thanks so much for your super chat, Kagan. Ancient Silver Dragon. Eight mana flying. It deals combat damage to a player. Roll a d20. Draw cards equal to the result. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. I think it could potentially draw a lot of cards. I just don't like its mode of drawing cards where you play it, you have to wait till next turn, you have to get in on an attack, it can't be blocked or anything. So for that, I don't actually think it's worth it. I think too much work. Too much work to get that Ancient Silver Dragon online. Luca with Cultivator Colossus. Does that actually draw cards? Oh no, it does draw. Does it technically draw cards? Okay, it's 7 mana. It's a Trampler, star power. It's equal to the number of lands you control. Enters the battlefield to me, put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Okay, if you do, draw a card and repeat the process. Card actually sees super competitive play. It's a huge banger card. Really good in amulet decks. Really good in lands decks. You got a lot of lands in your deck. 80% lands. 20% Cultivator Colossus. That's a recipe for disaster. Little MX Doom, the Sea Gate Restoration. I know this, this is such a commander staple. I think this thing sucks. So it's a 7 mana sorcery. Its best mode though, it's a land. You can, and also, so because it's a land that technically is a blue card that can be pitched to Force of Will, to Force of Negation, to maybe, what's it called? To Commandeer. So it's got that going for it. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand +1. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. I don't know about this card. It's basically similar to these other cards where you pay 7. At this point, I would rather pay 7, draw 7 cards. You know what I mean? It's the best part of this card. It's a land, but as a card draw spell, I don't know. I'm not in love with this thing. I know it's like a commander staple for some reason. Well, maybe not for some reason. You commander players, you don't have enough lands in your deck. Wizards is literally printing lands on the spells to encourage you to put more lands in your deck. You see how they sneakily do that? They're putting more lands on spells. They're doing it for you, commander players. They're doing it for you. Okay, we got Daniel. You didn't get a card yet? Nissa's Revelation done? Oh, Nissa's Revelation. Nope. 7 mana sorcery, scry 5, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you may draw cards equal to its power, and you gain life equal to its toughness. So the best part about this card is you're sort of digging for a creature that you'll put on top of your deck. Nah, I don't. It's not. I'm not feeling it with this card. Not feeling it with this card. Is searching card draw? When you search your library, does it say you draw a card? The answer to that would be no. Kagan with the super chat. I do like the Doom Weaver's method. I think we did that one already. Oh no, we didn't. We looked at a lot of Doomy cards. This is a 6 mana 1/8 Spider Horror with Reach and Soulbound. Now, as long as Doomweaver is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has, when this creature dies, draw cards equal to its power. So, like, you need a sack outlet for this thing. So I would say this is more like defense, or you're hedging versus your opponent killing your stuff. But I would not consider this a very good source of card draw. Like, all his dust is not card draw. That's just a board wipe. That's all it is. Vex 17, the Great Henge. Great Henge is 9 mana, but it costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. You can tap that double green and gain 2 life, but whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and also draw a card. Card is absolutely amazing, especially since you can play it for probably 3 mana, get a huge discount on what it normally is. It's like mana ramp, it gains life, it buffs up your board and draws cards all at the same time. It's really not that bad as a card draw engine either, because you can play creatures to draw cards to play creatures to draw cards, so it like really spirals out of control. I think we got everyone with a card. Oh, Risterden's still looking for a card. Inspired Sphinx. Inspired by what? We have a 7-mana 5/5 Sphinx flying. Enters the battlefield. Draw cards equal to the number of opponents you have, which ideally is going to be 3. Pay 4. Create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. I think if this was a little cheaper, 6 mana might be fine with me. Maybe 5. I think it's a little expensive. I will give you this. If you have infinite mana, then this becomes like a pretty good card, because then you can dump that infinite mana to make infinite creatures and win the game. So it's got something like that going for it. Islar one Archon of Cruelty. Don't forget the boy. When this enters the battlefield, you will be incredibly, incredibly disappointed.
No, God, please.
It says 8 mana 6/6 flyer. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent sacks a creature, which I know you all hate, or a planeswalker. You have to discard a card. You have to lose 3 life. And guess what? The Archon of Cruelty player gains 3 life, also draws a card. This card actually does it all. Isn't this just like a staple everywhere? Why isn't this card like $1 billion? Or did they just print the crap out of it in Modern Horizons? Target. Oh, it's only target opponents. So this is actually better one-on-one than actually in Commander. It should say all opponents. And at that point, then it'd be busted. We did Consecrated Sphinx, Dr. Nemo. We did the Sphinx. I think we did the Disciple of Frail Eyes. Little MX Dune. So, Frail Eyes. I'll take a look. Or maybe not. 6 mana 3/3 ETB. You may sacrifice another creature. If you do, gain X life and draw X cards, where X is that creature's power. Never a fan of sacking my board for cards. Just not something I like to do. I will say this much though: you do get a land out of this. Do you have to pay 3 life to have it in play untapped? Okay, so now let's just take on more. So I think almost everyone's got at least 1 card by now. Fran. Decree of Pain. No pain, no gain. Okay, this is an 8 mana sorcery. Destroy all the creatures. They can't be regenerated. Draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. And you get to cycle. And when you cycle Decree of Pain, all creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. This card is absolutely fantastic. Hands down, amazing card. Every black deck should probably play this. Well, I don't know what everyone. Probably doesn't see EDH play, but it's pretty damn good. Have we done the ultimatums / charms tier list show? I did like my last one was like a pseudo ultimatum charm list, because this was like it was just all 3 mana cards, more or less. Okay, next super chat we got from Kagan, the Warden of the Woods. Really requires you to beg your opponents. Please, give me cards. Please do it. I'm so poor here, empty-handed. We have 6 mana 5/7 with Vigilance. It's a tree folk. Whenever Warden of the Woods becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw 2 cards. It literally needs to be targeted. Nothing else. Yeah, that some assembly required. Is there a way to like magnetize all the spells to this thing? I don't know. It's possible. Nova Mackenzie, we did enter the infinite. We've done that one. Rise of the Eldrazi from Christopher B. For the low cost of 12 mana, what a deal. The spell can't be countered. Destroy target permanent. Target player draws 4 cards. And also take an extra turn after this one, which means you basically drew 5 cards. But the only bad thing is you have to exile your Rise of the Eldrazi. This card is absolutely bonkers. I played against it once. I was not happy about it. I didn't like the outcome. We got the Necromancy fan with the Rot Hulk. Stinky. What is this? Primeval Titan? No, it's a Hulk. I want to say this is like another creature in the game, but I can't put my finger on what it is. 7 mana for a 5/5 zombie with menace. ETB, return up to X target zombie cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Hold on, there's a fly here. Oh, where's my fly swatter? Where's Nikachu's fly swatter? Hold on, I gotta kill it. Ah, I missed. My aim was off. Oh, this stupid jerk is gonna buzz around everywhere. Okay, anyway, enters the battlefield. Return up to X target zombie cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the number of opponents you have. I could see this. Oh, wait a minute. You don't draw extra cards off of this. Disqualified. Does not actually draw cards. It's card advantage, don't get me wrong, but does not actually draw cards in here. Are there other Hulks? Yeah, well, there's Protein Hulk. Is it errated to a Hulk? No, it's a beast. Yeah, are there any Hulks? Are there any other Hulks, brother? All right. Imagine they turn WWE cards into Magic the Gathering cards. I have a feeling that is a secret lair people would love. Okay. Bedlam Reveler from Little MX Doom. Thank you very much. This card's amazing because it looks like it's 8 mana, but it's not. It's 2. Because it costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. It's got prowess. It's a 3/4 creature, and when it enters the battlefield, discard your hand and draw 3 cards. Just make sure you have no cards in your hand. Easily passes. John Davidson with Mind Unbound. We must open our mind. Make sure to put the lid back on when you're done, though. 6 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a lore counter on Mind Unbound, then draw a card for each lore counter on Mind Unbound. This is very similar to another card that we saw. It's like really... I wish this thing had a few more abilities. So this one's cheaper than the 7 mana version that we saw. The problem is, once you hit 6 mana... I mean, assuming you didn't like super cheat this thing in play, drawing a card every extra turn matters a little bit less. It's somewhere I'm like a little torn on this card. I still think it's just not doing enough for 6 mana. If it had 1 extra ability, I think I would be all in on it. I didn't miss your other super chat. You know, don't worry, I see all the super chats. I just grabbed, I misclicked it. All right, Arcanus Ultra with the Cruel Ultimatum. Every show equals ultimatum show. Yeah, I suppose so. Red, red, black, 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 blue, blue, sorcery. Target opponent sacks a creature, discards 3 cards, lose 5 life. You return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, draw 3 cards, and gain 5 life. I'm going to be a little controversial. I don't like these most of the ultimatums I don't like. I think for spending this much mana, you should have a permanent in play. And I don't even think you only hit 1 player. That's why I like the, what's it called? The Cruel... Archon of Cruelty. It's basically Cruel Ultimatum, but in creature form. So yeah, I actually am not a huge fan of most of the ultimatums, especially this one. I've seen, like, here, even in one-on-one games, I've seen a lot of people win against Cruel Ultimatum. Like, it wasn't everything. They tap out to do this, and then they just die on the next turn. It's not like it wipes the entire board. They only, like, sack 1 creature. Okay, next up, we got Luca with Kozilek, the Butcher of Truth. Honestly, I think the best part of this about a Kozilek is when it gets put into the graveyard from anywhere, you get to shuffle it back into your deck. 10 mana, 12, 12. As you cast the spell, you draw 4 cards. It's got Annihilator 4! Yes, I do think this card is worth it. Steve Cooper says, what if we did a cycle show where we look at all of a type of cards of a cycle at once? You mean like like we look at 1 cycle, then we look at like all 5 or 10 of them? I'll think about it. The cycle show. Or maybe we should just have like a cycle tier list one day. Cycle tier list. Just random cycles. Okay, next up, we got Lil MX Doom with Baleful Force. Oh, I've done this one. Boop. It's in all your Reanimator decks. 8 mana for a 7/7. At the beginning of each upkeep, you draw a card and you lose the 1 life. That's terrible. This is, what is this? Phyrexian Arena on turn 8? And if this is what you're reanimating, well, I guess... You know what's the interesting thing? If you are targeting this with a reanimation spell, your opponents are probably just going to let it resolve. Because they're like, well, this is probably not going to kill us. We need to look at the Urza cards as a cycle. Wandering Picked, Blast a Genius. 6 mana, choose any target, draw 3 cards, then discard a card. Blast of Genius deals damage equal to the discarded card's mana cost to that permanent or player. I like it. So you could be drawing 3 cards. Sorry, you are drawing 3 cards off of this. Technically drawing 2, but if you discard a card that you can use from your graveyard, you are definitely drawing 3. Oh, it's sorcery though. Oh. That hurts by a lot. Especially for a blue deck. Okay, I take it back, not worth it. Sorcery is that's a deal breaker, to be honest. If that was instant, it'd be great. It'd be like super brain surge, whatever. Can't remember what it's called. Another super chat. Let's take a look at Kagan. I use Ethereal Valkyrie in my Foretell deck. Ethereal Valkyrie. This is the 6 mana, 4/4 with 6 mana, 4/4 Spirit Angel, flying. Enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. Then exile a card from your hand face down. It becomes Foretold. Its Foretell cost is its mana cost reduced by 2. I like it. Actually, I don't mind this. So you get instant value. You can continuously get value as the game goes on. And on top of that, you can... Obviously, it works better in a Foretell deck. It's too bad most of the Foretell cards suck. But if you have good Foretell cards, it will make it work. On a later turn, you may cast the card for its Foretell. Oh, no, it's just turning everything into a Foretell card. On a later turn, you may cast it for its Foretell cost, even if this creature has left the battlefield. Oh, I think it's just good in general, then. What do we got here? 10 man, we did Consecrated Sphinx already. We gotta dig. You gotta dig. We did Broker of Blood, too. Steve Cooper. I don't know if Steve Cooper on Primordial Sage. Don't even know. Steve Cooper got a single card today. 6 mana for a 4/5 Spirit. You may, whenever you cast a creature spell, you may draw a card. Ooh, this is Glimpse. This is the creature version of Glimpse. Interesting. And only this ability. I'm inclined to think it's still worth it, though, because this ability is really, 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 really powerful. And it's a creature. It's a chunky enough creature, I think, at the same time. Okay, we got... Let's move to a little MX Doom. Harvester of the Souls. Gotta harvest them... Whoops. Harvest them souls. It's a childhood favorite. Harvester of... Sorry, a Harvester of Souls. 6 mana for a 5/5 demon. Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. Some assembly required, though. It's not too bad, though. You know, I would be pretty happy if I opened that as like an 8-year-old in a booster pack. I'd be like, damn, that's awesome. You blew up my board. I'm gonna at least get some. I'm gonna get a little card draw off of it. Lesthian with Will Kenrith. The other half of Rowan. 6 mana for a 4 loyalty. Will. +2. Until end of turn, up to 2 target creatures each have base power and toughness 0/3 and lose all abilities. Oh, until your next turn. That's amazing. Really good on defense. -2. Target player draws 2 cards. That could be me. Until your next turn, instant, sorcery, and planeswalker spells that player casts cost 2 less to cast. That could also be for me. And then target player gets an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. I think that sucks. Yeah, Yeah, I'm not as impressed by that. Maybe that I shouldn't underestimate that thing. You can actually get to it really quick. It's only 3 turns away, +2, and then -8. And also, it can be your commander. And partners with Rowan Kenrith. This card is absolutely bonkers. Stranger Candy. Okay, here you're just throwing out tons of that. I don't think we did Cosmic Epiphany. This is 6 mana sorcery. Draw cards equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Oh, for 6 mana. So you can end up like drawing 10 cards off of this. I could get behind that. So you have a lot of cards at like 6 and 7 mana that are like draw 4 cards, draw 7. This one can be like 20. This one could go bonkers. So you know what? I can get behind the Cosmic Epiphany. Not in love with sorcery speed card draw, but you know what? Card draw is card draw. We did oh no, we didn't do Wind Reader. Okay, let's look at Wind Reader. When I saw the word Sphinx, I thought it was Consecrated Sphinx again. We've done Consecrated Sphinx. Heads up to everybody. 7 mana for the 3/7 Sphinx. Flying. Whenever a creature with flying attacks, you may draw a card. Flying. Whenever a creature with flying attacks. This is so similar to those cards that, like, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. I don't know if that's worth it for 7 mana. Little MX Doom. Baleful Force is each upkeep. You draw 4 cards. Oh, hold on. Let's look at Baleful Force again. Thanks again for another super chat for correcting me. Beginning of each upkeep, draw a card, then you lose 1 life. Does that change? So it's Phyrexian Arena on every turn. Drawing 4 cards. I take it back. I like it. You know what? I take it back. 4 cards in 1 rotation. That's not bad. Although this might drain your life really quickly. But 1 life is not too bad. Any creature? Oh, including other people's creatures? Whenever a creature with flying attacks? Yeah, but you can't force them to attack. I don't think you can force them. I'm still not... It's a cute card. It's cute. It's very card. It's very, look, you've started something. Everyone's with like, no 2 cards yet. Maiko. Explosive Entertainer. Whoa, what an art. Oh, it's Chandra. Chandra looks great. Is this, who the hell is this? It's some sort of secret lair. Okay, anyway, 6 mana for a 4 loyalty Chandra. +1, create 2 3/1 red elemental creature tokens with haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. Not in love with that ability. Pay 0, discard all cards in your hand, then draw that many cards +1. I love it! That's great. -X, Miko, Explosive Entertainer deals X damage to each creature. No, we don't have a whole lot of loyalty to make use out of that card, so it's not very good. So, like, do I want to pay 6 mana to discard all the cards in our hand and draw that many cards +1? What's interesting is even for a red card, this is card advantage. Usually it's just, like, card neutrality, like Wheel of Fortune. Oh, sorry, Wheel of Fortune actually is card advantage. I gotta make a decision. I don't think it's a slam dunk, so I'm just gonna give it the X. Just gonna X it. Gonna say it's not worth it. Okay, again, and would we count the Marchesa Resolute Monarch? We'll find out in a second. Oh, God. If it's on a siege, I'm gonna immediately say no. What do we have to do? We have to destroy this thing? When it enters the battlefield, choose one or both. Well, at the very least, you're destroying all legendary creatures or destroying all non-legendary creatures. That's not so bad. So what's on the back thing? It's a 3/6 human noble, menace death touch. Attacks remove all counters from up to 1 target permanent. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you haven't been dealt combat damage since your last turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. I think this is too much work. I'm not a fan. That is a lot of work to get that. I mean, I don't mind the front side too bad. But then you have to kill it afterwards. I could swear I saw some with 1 card. They only had 1 card. Or maybe I misread it. No, I think everyone's got at least one card at this point. Oh boy, interpret the signs. Six mana, scry 3, then reveal the top card of your library. Draw cards equal to that card's converted mana cost. Oh god. What if there's nothing on top of your deck? Little MX Doom, the classic Rishkar's Expertise. Rishkar's Expertise, a 6-mana sorcery. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. I actually can get behind that one. It is not great, but it's not bad. At least, basically, you're going to spend 6 mana to cast a card effectively. 5 or less, of course, with the mana value. But you also get to draw cards at the same time. So your mana wasn't wasted. A big problem with a lot of these card draw spells is you're just tapping out to draw a bunch of cards but not do anything on the board. This one actually puts something on the board. Could be 15 cards. Or you could get kicked out of your playgroup for playing Emrakul. You're not allowed to play Emrakul around here. What else could you play, though? Maybe Draco? Does Draco get to 16? I can't remember. I can't remember how big Draco is. You should do good cards that Nikachu probably doesn't like as a show. Is there a way to, like, make a show as, like, you guys have to predict what I think about the card? I'll think about that. We got Klyler, the Booze of Wrass. Is that a real card? It's probably something of Wrass. Oh, the Book of Wrass. 6 mana, 2 mana. Pay 2 life, draw a card. No, definitely not worth it. Maybe in 93, 94. Maybe one of those old formats, you know? Drawing a card every turn? That was probably a big game at the time. Although I think there's like a format card that does something similar to this. Little MX Doom with the Infernal Sovereign. Another demon. A lot of them demons draw cards. All the demons are very expensive. 6 mana, 6/6 demon, flying trample, skip your draw step. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. I gotta say, not worth it. Again, it's another one of those things where if you have no cards in your hand or you're screwed, or if you can't, you have to skip your draw step. So if something goes wrong, you're absolutely doomed. Just always way too high risk. Way too high risk. Goblin Grundle, welcome to the show. Mind Unbound. Oh, we did this one. Sorry about that. We did that one. Corbinic, Flow of Knowledge. Knowledge. Did we do this one? 6 mana, Corbinic. Come on. You've been here before. 6 CMC plus. Those are the rules. Ooh, this is an interesting one. Coveted Jewel. That's 6 mana, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And at the battlefield, draw 3 cards. Also taps for mana. Whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls attacks you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of Coveted Jewel. Untap it. This actually is part of quite a few combo decks. Because you play this, draw the cards, add the mana, and you intend on winning that turn. So it's actually just like, it might as well be Jewel. What do I consider this? It's like infinite. It's Lotus Field that is also attached to Ancestral Recall. I'm surprised we went this far. No one mentioned this card. This card is insane. It's a very good card. Mouth/feed. It is technically it will technically count. Yes. Okay, let's take a look at mouth/feed. Okay, we got 3 mana. Sorcery, create a 3/3 green hippo creature token. Then we got feed, 4 mana. Draw a card for each creature you control with power 3 or greater. Would not get behind this. It's good. It probably is good in standard, that's for sure. Who else looking for another card? Hexenort, the Hours Heresy. Sometimes you have to get really... Oh, sorry, the Horus. Is it the horse? The chorus? No, the horse heresy. Sometimes you have to get deep into the show to see the cool stuff. Okay, 6 mana for a saga. Chapter 1. For each opponent, gain control of up to one target non-legendary creature that player controls, as long as the horse heresy remains on the battlefield. Chapter 2. Draw a card for each creature you control but don't own. Ugh, that sucks. Then Chapter 3. Starting with you, each player chooses a creature. Destroy each creature chosen this way. You have to blow everything up at the end. For each opponent, you get something for each opponent. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. This is like Agent of Treachery, but for every opponent. For each opponent, gain control of one target non-legendary creature that player controls for as long as this thing's on the battlefield. Oh, you have to give it back. Who cares? You have like 3 turns with it. No problem with that. You didn't get 1 card yet? Well, I'll tell you what, Corbinek. We did Forced Fruition already. Pabno. Need more dinos. Okay, I think I got to get through these super chats. This show is going to go on for forever. Vaultborn Tyrant. This is 7 mana for a 6/6 dinosaur. They're not extinct, people. They're quite alive in Magic World. Whenever a Vaultborn Tyrant or another creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life and draw a card. That's actually a lot of value. And then when it dies, if it's not a token, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. I think that's insane. That's great. So you have a natural 6/6 Trampler. As you play more dinos, you're going to gain life, draw cards. And then if this thing dies, you get another copy of it, so they have to kill 2 of them. This card is actually bananas. Okay, next super chat. Lil MX Doom. Peer into the abyss. Oh, did we do that one? Oh, we didn't actually. Okay. 7 mana sorcery. Target player draws cards equal to half the number of cards in their library and loses half their life. Round up each time. I have to say that this card is great. So see, for 7 mana, so those blue cards, 7 mana to draw 7 cards. No, that's not good. 7 mana, draw half your deck. Absolutely, that's amazing. Okay, another. Now it's like the little MX Doom show. Staff of Eden. You like them cards, little MX Doom. 6 mana. You like those big mana card drawers. 6 mana legendary artifact. When the Staff of Eden Vault's Key enters the battlefield, put target legendary permanent card not named Staff of Eden Vault's Key from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Tap, draw a card for each permanent you control but don't own. Oh, I see. You're going to put target legendary permanent card not named Staff of Eden from a graveyard onto the battlefield. Has to be legendary, and you can only draw cards from the those permanents. Sounds incredibly narrow. Definitely not worth it. The next super chat, also from Lil MX Doom. Tree Shaker Chimera for the lols. 7 mana, 8/5. Is this all one creature? All creatures able to block Tree Shaker Chimera do so. When it dies, draw 3 cards. Fortunately, you can only get the card draw on the death. Okay, and then Lil MX Doom with Zendikar Resurgent, the Commander Classic. Zendikar Resurgent. The 7 mana enchantment. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 additional mana to add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced. And whenever you cast a creature spell, you draw a card. This card probably is worth it, because probably the thing that you want the most out of this card at this point of the game, especially late, is that you want double the mana. You have a lot of mana, but if you're going to be casting creature spells, drawing cards, you want double the mana to play all those cards. And Pabno with Seismic Monstrositor. Seismic Monstrositor, the Flood Avoider. 6 mana for a 6/5 Trampler. Pay 3 mana, sacrifice a land, draw a card. Trample, pay 3, got a sack a land, draw a card. You do have Mountain Cycling, but it's not worth it to actually cast. I don't know if I want to be paying 3. Like, if you're going to draw a card, you're not even going to have mana to cast the damn things. All right, well, that's it, people. Hope everyone enjoyed the show. Hopefully everyone got at least 1 card, sometimes 2. And if you want to be part of the show, you got to be here. 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be there or be square. Thanks to everyone who supports the show. If you're a patron on Patreon, a member on YouTube, or you super chat to be part of the show, or even super chat so other people are part of the show. And thanks so much, everyone, for being here today. If there's any other extra cards you missed, go check them out in the comments section. Tons of good ones. Oh, Lil MX Doom wants to... Don't be super chatting anything else after this. What is a Season of Gathering? Everything gets eaten up at this point. Season of Gathering. 6 mana sorcery. Didn't we do that one? Yeah, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You sniped yourself. You're definitely there at the time. Okay, that means we gotta we're gonna give one to Gustav, Psychic Vortex. I wonder if Gustav is still here to see this. Some people leave at the end. 4 mana. Oh, it's disqualified. What's wrong with you people? Kano, give me something. Imsker Iron Eater. Okay, this is a 8 mana 5/5 demon, affinity for artifacts. Enters the battlefield, you draw X cards, you lose X life, where X is the number of artifacts you control rounded down. And also pay 4 mana, sack an artifact, deals damage equal to the sacrifice artifact's mana value to any target. That is great. It's great because it's cheap to cast and also has a lot of utility in addition to the cards that you draw. Okay. Now it's done. Okay, thanks to everyone who shows up here today. Be part of the show. People like Bell and Arcanus Ultra, Steve Cooper, Kano, Benjamin Berkeley. We got Gustav, Nolan, Arcanus, Islarf, Christopher B, Ben, Corbin. We got Corbinek, Pabno, Sheelan, Crowcore Games. Because you guys are the show. So as usual, my coffee crew, keep brewing them coffees. We're going to keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you at the next cup.